Greg Tidwell, one of the evangelists for the Church of Christ at 1130 Fishinger Road in Columbus, Ohio. Thank you for joining us for this video Bible class on effective Christian leadership. As we go through this study, we'll be following an outline from a book I wrote a few years ago, The Effective Edge. Also, as we move forward, I would like for these lessons to be engaging and addressing the questions you may have, so please be in touch. If you ask me something, I'll try to answer it in the next class. Each class will be presented on Wednesday evenings at 7 o'clock through the course of this summer. I hope that you enjoy the study, and I look forward to hearing from you. In one sense, all of leadership is stewardship, recognizing that we are to be effective in serving the Lord and using what He has given us. But especially in this session, we're going to be looking at the idea of knowing the resources, recognizing what God has provided for us so that we are able to serve Him effectively. I think about especially the need to open our eyes, to be aware. The story of Elisha is interesting in this regard. Elisha, the prophet of God, had been a constant problem for the king of Syria. The king sent a vast number of troops to surround Elisha. And whenever Elisha's servant saw the army surrounding them, he panicked. But Elisha, a man of faith, prayed that God would provide to the young man an understanding of the reality. 2 Kings 6:17. Then Elisha prayed and said, "O Lord, please open his eyes so that he may see." So the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw. And behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. God's provision, the chariots of fire, were always there. They just weren't seen by the young man until God revealed them. In the same way, we should be constantly praying that God would open our eyes, that we would see what He has provided for us so that we can be effective in His service. James 1:17, every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change. God is the source of all good, and every good gift is from Him. He has provided it for us, and for that reason, we are responsible as good stewards for how we use these things. We can either look with eyes closed in fear or opened through faith. We need constantly, in faith, to look for the provision that God has told us that He is providing. Matthew 25:29, for to everyone who has will more be given, and he will have an abundance. We think in terms of what God has provided for us. And yet if we don't use it, there is this admonition. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. This is in the context of the parable of the talents being provided to various servants. The one who received more was the one who used what he was given, and the one who lost everything is the one who failed to use what God had provided. Sometimes we have a hard time seeing what is all around us. But we need in faith to recognize that all things are possible. In the words of Jesus, Mark 9:23, all things are possible for the one who believes. All things are possible. We do not need to fear about a lack because God has abundance. 2 Peter 1:3-4, His divine power has granted to us all things that pertain to life and godliness. through the knowledge of him who called us to his own glory and excellence, by which he has granted to us his precious and very great promises, so that through them you may become partakers of the divine nature, having escaped from the corruption that is in the world because of sinful desire. He has granted to us all things, so that we are able to lay hold of his great promises. The promises of God are so deep and rich and profound that if we will believe them, we will know that we have abundance. Russell H. Conwell had a very popular lecture at the turn of the last century called Acres of Diamonds. He delivered this presentation all over the United States. It's the story of a man who wanted to grow rich by acquiring diamonds because they were so precious. He set out from his home on a journey, and the story of the lecture tells of him traveling around the world looking for these diamonds, only to be disappointed. But when he came home to plow his field at home, he uncovered a rock, and that rock was indeed a diamond. In fact, he was living on a great diamond mine, acres of diamonds under the soil of his own home. The lesson: look where you are to find profound resources. Ephesians 3:20, now to him who is able to do far more abundantly than all that we ask or think, according to the power at work within us. We think in terms of what God has done for us, and he is able to do more than we would ever think. Back in the days of the colonization of Brazil, ships would leave Portugal sailing for the New World, and one of the tremendous problems they had was bringing enough water. Often they would lose the breeze to bring them across the ocean, and being stuck in the middle of the Atlantic, they would run short. The interesting thing is, the Amazon River pours millions of gallons a second into the Atlantic, so that for 100 miles out to sea, far beyond the sight of the coast, the water is fresh water. The sad story of the number of Portuguese vessels sailing along in this ocean of fresh water, dying of thirst, because they did not know that by merely dipping their buckets over the edge where they were, they had all that they needed. In just the same way, we have all we need in Jesus Christ, if we will but look in faith for these things. Stewardship begins with faith. 1 Corinthians 4 verse 7. For who sees anything different in you? What do you have that you did not receive? If then you received it, why do you boast as if you did not receive it? There are two sides to this. First of all, this passage is dealing with the question of humility, that we must remember anything that we have has come from God. We need to humbly use it. But the other side of it is remembering that God is the one who provides. What we receive is from God, and God will provide for us everything that we need. Isaiah 26:12. O Lord, you will ordain peace for us, for you have indeed done for us all our works. You have done for us all our works. Why is it that we can have peace, that we don't have to strive and fret and worry? Because it's God who is at work in us. He is the one who has accomplished every good that we have done in the past, and he ultimately is the one who will ensure our future. He is the one who has been doing great things in his church. He has done great things in your life, and if you are going to be a leader in the Lord's church, you need to trust in God and recognize that he will empower you to accomplish everything that He has set out for you to do. Philippians 2:13, for it is God who works in you, both to will and to work for His good pleasure. How do you stay motivated? You look to God. How do you have the will, the desire to accomplish great things? You look to God. God is at work in you, so that you will and you will work. If you are looking to God, you will be motivated and you will be successful in accomplishing exactly what God wants you to accomplish. It may not be what, from a worldly standpoint, people would judge as successful, but anything you do in faith is granted by grace to be a success through the power of God. Romans 12:6, having gifts that differ according to the grace given us, let us use them. We have gifts that differ. You have blessings in your life that no one else will have. Whenever you take inventory, as we sing in the song, count your blessings, name them one by one, there are things you can list in your life that no one else can. Because you have relationships, you have opportunities, you have experiences that are unique to you. God has been at work and is at work in your life. Having these gifts that differ, use them. As good stewards of God's varied grace, you are to be effective in leadership, recognizing what God has done and laying hold of His great promises. You are able to be propelled into a very successful future. Stewardship rests upon faith, believing in God, looking for His provision, embracing His promises, being motivated and energized in His work. You can accomplish great things in His service. Thank you for taking part in the study. I hope you found it useful, and I hope you'll be back with us each week. Please do remember to be in touch. I'd love to hear from you, and I hope you have a blessed day.